Hello students, in this video we are going to discuss about how to write a task 1, and basically today we are discussing how to write a line graph. So let's start with this. So as you can see in the picture, so firstly we have to make the key comparisons of this graph, that is the trends. So we will notice the trends by observing the first month and the last month. So firstly, we will write inquiries. So telephone inquiries, although initially showed fluctuations, or you can say fluctuating trend, rose steadily. Steadily means slowly. Rose steadily to become the second most preferred method of communication. No doubt in the starting, telephone inquiries was the highest, but with the time we can see that the inquiries made by in-person in the end recorded a significant growth, that is an increasing trend. Whereas the telephone inquiries, although it initially showed few of the fluctuations, then it rose to become the second most preferred method of communication. As you can see that it is little below the in-person. So the third one is, so letters, email inquiries. Email inquiries was the least preferred method over the period, or you can say over the 6-month period, right? So these are the key comparisons that we are talking about. In this line graph, you can see that the highest number of, or the significant growth is observed while in-person, whereas telephone inquiries, although in the starting it is fluctuating, but in the end it is recording a high point, that is up to 1600. And the letter email inquiries was the least preferred method because it steadily declined. So we can also write as it steadily declined. So keep these three things in mind, and then you have to start your task 1 or your graph. Firstly, we have to make these comparisons, right? So now let's start with solving this task. Okay, so the first step is to change the introduction. So now we have to change the intro. So we will write the line graph. So we will write the line graph. Instead of shows, we will write illustrates the number of inquiries, received at the tourist information office over the period of 6 months in a particular nation in a specific year 2011. So now we have to write the data is categorized. This line is very nice, so you can add the data is categorized on the basis of 3 modes of communication that were in-person, telephone, and via letters or email. So this is a full-fledged intro in which we have, instead of show, from the question we have written illustrates, and then this line we have added, which is going to boost your score. That is, the data is categorized on the basis of 3 modes of communication. The 3 modes are in person, telephone, and via letters or email. So now let's move to the overall. So now to write a good overall, starting with overall, it is evident that in-person inquiries recorded or experienced a significant upward trends, whereas telephone inquiries, despite of few fluctuations, observed the same rising trend. In the end, you are going to write inquiries by letter and email steadily declined. Okay, so one way to write is like this. When we compare the three of these communication modes, so we can also add one more point, that is notably. Like, we can club this. Overall, it is evident that in-person and telephone inquiries recorded upward trends. Notably, then we will explain. Notably, in-person method saw a dramatic increase, surpassing the figures of the other 2 modes by April to the end of the period. Okay, so we have to add some advanced words to get more than 6 bands. So that is notably, surpassing. Okay, so like this is a full-fledged overall for you. Okay, so now let's move to the body paragraph 1. As you know that in task 1 we have to make 4 body paragraphs. The first one was intro. The second is overall, where you should not mention any of the numeric, and then it's body paragraph 1, and then it's body paragraph 2. So now we will write about the first one, and that is body paragraph 1st. And the connector for this paragraph is turning to details, because now we will mention each and everything. So turning to details, and now we will explain the 3 types of communication methods and the figures of all these 3. So firstly, we will write initially in January. J will be capitalized because it's a proper noun. So initially in January, the tourist information center or office, as the data is of 2011, so we will use past tense. The tourist information office received 900 inquiries by telephone, followed by 750 through letters, whereas the inquiries by in-person were least frequent with a figure just over 400. Okay, so firstly we have explained the first month, that is January, and we have explained the number of inquiries received by the all three methods. Firstly, it is telephone, which is 900 inquiries by telephone. So here you can write which were the highest, because out of these three, telephone inquiries were the highest, okay, which is 900. Then by letters it's 750, and in person were the least with only 400 above. Okay, so in person were the least frequent with a figure just over 400. So after this, like January, February, March, up to over the next 3 months, telephone inquiries still remained the most popular, as the figure reached approximately at 1000. Okay, so as you can see that the telephone inquiries still remain the most popular, starting from 900, then up to the next 3 months, like January, February, March, it reached to 1000. So just like this, meanwhile, in-person requests, so instead of repeating inquiries, you can also write requests. So meanwhile means that time, in the same time frame, like from January to March. So meanwhile, in-person request also saw a considerable growth at 800 by March, surpassing, or you can write overtaking the requests by email or letters, right? So now just continuing the in-person request, because after March, it also exceeds the number of inquiries received by the telephone. Okay, so now just continuing this, we will write from March to June, inquiries by in-person were more common, as it reached, or you can write climbed to its peak point, that was more than 1800, and becoming the topmost preferred method. Okay, so now we have explained about the in-person request. In the starting, it was very low. It was just under 400. So, but with the time, by March, it recorded a growth of 800, and after this, till June, it reached more than 1800, which is the highest number from the other two categories given. So now we will explain the telephone and the email letter in the next body paragraph. So for body paragraph second, so now as we are ending this body paragraph 1 here, and now we have to write about the body paragraph second, that is probing ahead. So now we will say, during this period, inquiries by telephone method, telephone mode also witnessed a significant rise rise from 1000 by April to 1600 by June. Okay, because up to April it was only 1000, then it rose to 1400, and then by the end of the period it was 1600. Okay, so now we are left with only letters and emails, which is the least preferred method in the end. So we will write by contrast as we are going or writing something opposite. So the connector will be by contrast, or you can use in contrast, or the another connector is conversely. By contrast, requests via or by, request via letters or emails recorded steady decline consistently to slightly less than 400 in the last 2 months, becoming the least mode of communication. So this is a full-fledged line graph, and here we have used a lot of words and comparison connectors like by contrast. We can also say conversely, witnessed, probing ahead, and even we have written recorded here consistently to slightly less than, as it was recording a consistent decline from 750 to 700, and in the end it was only 400. Thank you so much, and follow us for every task 1 thorough explanation.